Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traore pledges unwavering support to Iran in bold display of solidarity. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. In a historic address that reverberated across the African continent and beyond, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the charismatic and polarizing leader of Burkina Faso's military junta, declared his nation's unflinching support for Iran during a high-profile diplomatic summit in Tehran on June 15, 2025. The announcement, delivered with Traore's signature fiery rhetoric, marks a significant escalation in Burkina Faso's pivot toward non-Western alliances and underscores the young leader's ambition to position his nation as a vanguard of anti-imperialist solidarity in the global south. Standing before a packed audience of Iranian officials, African diplomats, and international media, Traore, dressed in his trademark military fatigues, spoke with a conviction that has earned him both ardent supporters and fierce critics. Burkina Faso, a land of dignity and resilience, stands shoulder to shoulder with the Islamic Republic of Iran, he proclaimed, his voice resonating through the ornate halls of Tehran's summit venue. We share a common struggle against the chains of imperialism and the exploitation of our peoples. Today, I vow that Burkina Faso will support Iran in any way necessary, be it through food, human resources, or any other means within our power. The pledge comes at a pivotal moment for both nations. Burkina Faso, under Traore's leadership since his September 2022 coup, has been grappling with a deepening security crisis, with jihadist insurgencies controlling roughly 40% of its territory. Despite his initial promise to restore stability within months, the 37-year-old leader has faced mounting criticism for the worsening violence, with reports of civilian massacres and human rights abuses casting a shadow over his revolutionary agenda. Yet, Traore's defiance of Western influence and his embrace of alternative partners like Russia and now Iran have cemented his status as a cult figure among Africa's disillusioned youth, who see him as a modern-day Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's iconic revolutionary leader of the 1980s. Iran, meanwhile, is navigating its own complex geopolitical landscape. Facing heightened tensions with Western powers over its nuclear program and regional influence, Tehran has intensified efforts to forge alliances with African nations, particularly those in the Sahel region. Burkina Faso's outreach to Iran, exemplified by Traore's visit and the recent meeting between the Burkinabe and Taliban ambassadors in Tehran, signals a strategic alignment aimed at countering Western dominance. Iran's offer to provide military support, including potential arms shipments, has been a point of contention, with some analysts suggesting it could further destabilize the Sahel, while others argue it reflects a pragmatic response to Burkina Faso's security needs. Traore's commitment to supporting Iran with food and human resources is particularly striking given Burkina Faso's own challenges. The country faces acute food insecurity, with over 3 million people projected to be at risk of hunger in 2025 due to conflict, climate shocks, and economic disruptions. Yet, Traore framed the pledge as a matter of principle, invoking Burkina Faso's agricultural heritage and the resilience of its people. Our land is fertile, our farmers are strong, and our spirit is unbreakable, he said. If Iran, our brother in the fight for sovereignty, requires grain or manpower, we will find a way to provide it, just as we trust Iran will stand by us in our hour of need. The reference to human resources has sparked intense speculation. Some interpret it as an offer of Burkinabe volunteers or technical expertise, potentially in agriculture or mining, where Burkina Faso has significant experience. Others see it as a veiled allusion to military cooperation, with Burkina Faso possibly contributing personnel to joint initiatives or training programs with Iranian forces. Traore's government has already welcomed Russian military instructors and equipment, and his openness to Iranian support suggests a willingness to diversify security partnerships further. The enemies of our freedom are many, but so are our allies, Traore declared, gesturing toward the Iranian delegation. Together, we will build a new world order rooted in justice and mutual respect. The summit in Tehran was not Traore's first engagement with Iran. Posts on X from 2023 indicate early signals of alignment, with one account claiming Iran was prepared to arm Traore to advance its anti-imperialist agenda. More recently, a video posted on June 16, 2025, by an X user referenced an emergency call from Iran to African leaders, to which Traore reportedly responded with enthusiasm. While these posts remain unverified, they reflect the growing sentiment among some segments of the online community that Traore's foreign policy is a bold rebuke of Western hegemony. Back in Ouagadougou, the announcement has elicited mixed reactions. Supporters rallied in the capital streets, chanting Traore's name and waving banners proclaiming solidarity with Iran. Captain Triore is showing the world that Burkina Faso is not a pawn of the West, said Aissata Ouedraogo, a 24-year-old student and member of a pro-junta youth group. Iran is a powerful ally, and together we can break the chains of neo-colonialism. Critics, however, warn that the pledge could strain Burkina Faso's already fragile resources and deepen its international isolation. How can we promise food to Iran when our own people are starving? Asked an anonymous human rights activist, speaking to local media under condition of anonymity due to fear of reprisals. Traore's rhetoric is inspiring, but his priorities are reckless. On the international stage, Traore's vow has raised eyebrows. Western diplomats, already wary of Burkina Faso's drift toward Russia, now face the prospect of an Iran-Burkina Faso axis in the Sahel. The United States, which has accused Traore of mismanaging Burkina Faso's gold reserves, is likely to view the announcement as a provocation. France, Burkina Faso's former colonial power, has seen its influence in the region erode as Traore expelled French troops and nationalized French-owned mines. Iran's growing presence could further complicate efforts by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to reintegrate Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which formed the alliance of Sahel states after breaking away from the regional bloc. Traore's speech also touched on broader themes of Pan-Africanism and global resistance. He invoked the legacy of Sankara, who famously called for debt repudiation and self-reliance, and drew parallels with Iran's defiance of Western sanctions. Just as Iran has stood firm against the arrogance of imperial powers, so too will Burkina Faso, he said. Our struggle is one, our destiny is shared. The rhetoric resonates with a generation of Africans frustrated by economic inequality and foreign interference, but it also underscores the high stakes of Traore's gamble. Aligning with Iran may bolster his revolutionary credentials, but it risks entangling Burkina Faso in a web of geopolitical rivalries that could exacerbate its domestic challenges. Traore concluded his address. The audience erupted in applause, with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi rising to embrace the Burkinabe leader. The summit's agenda included discussions on trade, security, and cultural exchange, with both sides expressing optimism about deepening ties. Yet, the practical implications of Traore's pledge remain unclear. Can Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation of 22 million battling insurgency and poverty, deliver on its promise to support a Middle Eastern power thousands of miles away? And what will Iran offer in return? Arms, investment, or merely symbolic solidarity? For now, Traore's bold move has thrust Burkina Faso into the global spotlight, amplifying his image as a fearless leader unafraid to challenge the status quo. Whether this gamble will strengthen his nation or deepen its crises is a question that looms large, as the world watches the unfolding of this unlikely alliance. As Captain Ibrahim Traore's pledge to support Iran reverberates across global capitals, the potential benefits for Burkina Faso in aligning with the Islamic Republic are as ambitious as they are uncertain. This bold move, rooted in Traore's vision of a sovereign, anti-imperialist Burkina Faso, could yield significant advantages in security, economic development, and geopolitical leverage, though each comes with considerable risks. Below, we explore the potential benefits for Burkina Faso, delving into the strategic, economic, and ideological dimensions of this burgeoning partnership. Point 1. Enhanced security cooperation and military support. One of the most immediate benefits for Burkina Faso could be Iran's potential to bolster its security apparatus. The Sahel nation is grappling with a relentless jihadist insurgency that has displaced over 2 million people and left thousands dead since 2015. Traore's government has struggled to contain groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, despite increased military spending and partnerships with Russian mercenaries. Iran, with its extensive experience in asymmetric warfare and support for proxy forces across the Middle East, could offer Burkina Faso critical military assistance. This could manifest in several forms. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has a track record of providing training, intelligence, and logistical support to allied forces. For Burkina Faso, this might translate into specialized counter-terrorism training for its armed forces, particularly in urban combat and intelligence gathering, skills desperately needed to reclaim territory from insurgents. Additionally, Iran could supply small arms, drones, or ballistic technology, as it has done for allies like Hezbollah and the Houthis. Posts on X from 2023 hinted at Iran's willingness to arm Traore's regime, suggesting a precedent for such cooperation. If realized, this could enhance Burkina Faso's military capabilities, potentially tipping the balance in its fight against jihadist groups. Moreover, Iran's expertise in countering Western intelligence operations could help Burkina Faso strengthen its national security framework. Traore has repeatedly accused Western powers, particularly France, of undermining his government through espionage and covert support for insurgents. Iranian advisors could assist in developing counterintelligence measures, reducing Burkina Faso's vulnerability to external interference. This alignment could also deter Western military interventions, as Iran's involvement would raise the stakes of any foreign operation in the Sahel. 2. Economic opportunities and resource diversification beyond security. Burkina Faso stands to gain economically from its partnership with Iran. While the country faces acute food insecurity and economic challenges, it possesses significant natural resources, including gold, zinc, and manganese, which could serve as bargaining chips in bilateral trade. Iran, under heavy Western sanctions, is eager to diversify its trade partners and secure access to raw materials. Burkina Faso's gold, which accounts for nearly 80% of its export revenue, could be a key asset in this exchange. In return, Iran could provide refined petroleum products, industrial equipment, or agricultural technology to boost Burkina Faso's productivity. Iran's experience in circumventing sanctions through barter trade and alternative financial systems could also benefit Burkina Faso, which has faced economic isolation since its expulsion from ECOWAS and the loss of Western aid. Tehran's expertise in establishing parallel banking networks, such as those used in its trade with China and Russia, could help Burkina Faso access international markets without relying on Western-dominated financial institutions like SWIFT. This could be a lifeline for Traore's government, which has struggled to stabilize the economy amid inflation and supply chain disruptions. Agricultural cooperation is another potential avenue. Traore's pledge to provide food to Iran, despite Burkina Faso's own food insecurity, suggests a long-term vision of agricultural revitalization. Iran, with its advanced irrigation techniques and drought-resistant crop varieties, could assist Burkina Faso in improving its agricultural yields. Such collaboration could address domestic food shortages while positioning Burkina Faso as a regional supplier, enhancing its economic resilience. For instance, Iran's expertise in date palm cultivation and water management could be adapted to Burkina Faso's semi-arid climate, boosting local production of staple crops like millet and sorghum. 3. Geopolitical leverage and regional influence. Traore's alignment with Iran could elevate Burkina Faso's stature on the global stage, particularly within the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, which includes Mali and Niger. By positioning itself as a bridge between the Sahel and the Middle East, Burkina Faso could gain diplomatic clout and influence in regional and global forums. Iran's backing could amplify Traore's voice in anti-imperialist coalitions, such as the Non-Aligned Movement, where Iran holds significant sway. This would allow Burkina Faso to advocate more forcefully for debt relief, climate finance, and equitable trade policies, issues central to its development agenda. The partnership could also strengthen the AES's collective bargaining power. Mali and Niger have similarly distanced themselves from Western partners, with Mali hosting Russian Wagner Group operatives and Niger expelling French and American troops. Iran's entry into the Sahel could create a new axis of cooperation, challenging the dominance of traditional powers like France and the United States. For Burkina Faso, this could translate into greater autonomy in negotiating security and economic agreements, reducing its dependence on any single partner, including Russia. Furthermore, Iran's diplomatic networks could open doors for Burkina Faso in the Middle East and Asia. Tehran's alliances with China, Russia, and Syria could facilitate trade and investment opportunities, particularly in infrastructure development. For example, Chinese firms, which have collaborated with Iran on Belt and Road Initiative projects, could be incentivized to invest in Burkina Faso's mining or energy sectors, creating jobs and boosting revenue. 4. Ideological alignment and domestic legitimization. Traore's support for Iran aligns with his broader ideological project of reviving the revolutionary ideals of Thomas Sankara. By framing the partnership as a stand against Western imperialism, Traore can galvanize domestic support among Burkina Faso's youth, who make up over 60% of the population and are drawn to his anti-colonial rhetoric. The pledge to Iran reinforces Traore's image as a fearless leader willing to defy global powers, a narrative that resonates deeply in a country scarred by decades of foreign influence. This ideological alignment could also inspire broader Pan-African solidarity. Iran's history of supporting anti-colonial movements, such as its backing of South Africa's anti-apartheid struggle, provides a historical precedent for cooperation. Traore could leverage this to position Burkina Faso as a leader in a new wave of African resistance against neocolonialism, attracting support from other African nations disillusioned with Western policies. Social media posts on X already reflect this sentiment, with users praising Traore as a true son of Africa for his outreach to Iran. 5. Cultural and educational exchanges. Beyond material benefits, the partnership could foster cultural and educational exchanges that enrich Burkina Faso's social fabric. Iran's rich cultural heritage, including its literature, cinema, and scientific traditions, could be shared through exchange programs, scholarships, and cultural festivals. For instance, Iranian universities could offer training in fields like engineering, medicine, and renewable energy, addressing Burkina Faso's shortage of skilled professionals. Such initiatives would not only build capacity but also strengthen people-to-people ties, creating a foundation for long-term cooperation. Challenges and uncertainties. While the potential benefits are significant, they are not guaranteed. Iran's own economic constraints, due to sanctions and domestic challenges, may limit its ability to deliver substantial support. Moreover, Burkina Faso's commitment to providing food and human resources could strain its already fragile economy, particularly if domestic needs are sidelined. The partnership also risks antagonizing Western powers and regional neighbors, potentially leading to further sanctions or diplomatic isolation. Traore's ability to balance these risks while capitalizing on the benefits will determine the success of this bold foreign policy move. As Burkina Faso and Iran deepen their ties, the world watches a partnership that could reshape the Sahel's geopolitical landscape. For Traore, the gamble is clear. By aligning with a controversial yet influential power like Iran, he seeks to secure his nation's future while carving out a legacy as a revolutionary leader. The path forward, however, remains fraught with uncertainty, as the benefits of this alliance hinge on careful execution and mutual commitment.